For 3 long years, the prophet labored quietly to deliver the message of God. Idol worship was deeply rooted among the people, and the prophet tried to convince as many as he could. After 3 years of struggle, he was only able to secure 30 followers. Even his companions had now started questioning his sanity. By now, his enemies had started plotting against the prophet. The prophet preached that everyone was equal in front of God, and this challenged the authority of the local priests. One day, they gathered together and decided to suppress the movement of the prophet. They decided that each family should take upon themselves the task of stamping out the followers of Islam. Each household started torturing its own members, relatives, and slaves who were following the prophet. The people were beaten, flogged, and then thrown into prison. The hill of Ramada and the place called Bada had now become scenes of cruel torture. Only the prophet was left out, because he had the protection of Abu Talib and Abu Bakr. Then the priests tried to tempt the prophet into joining their religion. For this, they sent Utbah ibn Rabi'ah to meet the prophet. "O son of my brother," said the messenger, "you are distinguished by your qualities, yet you have denounced our gods. I am here to make a proposition to you." "I am listening to you, O son of Walid," said the prophet. "If you are willing to acquire riches, honors, and dignity, then we are willing to offer you a fortune larger than what we have among ourselves. We shall make you our chief, and we will consult everything with you. If you desire dominion, then we shall make you our king," said Utbah. When Utbah had finished, the prophet said, "Now listen to me, O father of Walid." "I'm listening," replied Utbah. The prophet recited the first 13 verses of Surah Fussilat. He praised Allah, sought and explained the glad tidings of paradise to anyone who believed in the one true God. The prophet then reminded him about what had happened to the people, Ophad and Thamud. When the prophet had finished his recitation, he said to Utbah, "This is my reply to your proposition. Now take what course you find best." When their plan to tempt the prophet failed, they approached his uncle, Abu Talib. The prophet's uncle tried persuading the prophet to stop preaching to the people. But the prophet said, "O uncle, if they were to put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left hand to stop me from preaching Islam, I would never stop." The prophet, overcome by the thought that his uncle was willing to desert him, turned to depart from his home. But Abu Talib called out to the prophet loudly and asked him to come back. When the prophet returned, Abu Talib told him, "Say whatever you please. By the Lord, I shall not desert you forever." The priests from different tribes started publicly persecuting the supporters of the prophet. It was during this time that a Christian king named Al-Najashi was ruling Abyssinia. The prophet had heard about the righteousness, tolerance, and hospitality of this kind ruler. When the persecution became unbearable, the prophet advised the Muslims to emigrate to Abyssinia. Some 15 families emigrated to this country in small groups to avoid detection. This is called the first Hijrah. In the history of Islam, it happened during the 5th year of the Prophet's mission. The emigrants received a kind reception from the king and his people. They were soon followed by many others who suffered at the hands of the evil priests in Makkah. The number of emigrants soon reached around 100. When the priests heard about this, they were furious. They decided not to leave the emigrants in peace and immediately sent two envoys to the king to bring them back. When the envoys met the king, he summoned the poor fugitives and asked them what they had to say. Jafar, the son of Abu Talib and brother of Ali, then spoke for the exiles. "O king, we were plunged in the depths of barbarism. We adored idols, disregarded all virtues, and lived without law. Then Allah raised among us a man who was pure and honest. He taught us to worship Allah sought and forbade us from worshiping idols. He taught us to speak the truth and to be faithful. We believe in him, and we have accepted his teachings. His followers were persecuted, forcing us back into idol worship again. When we found no safety among them, we came to your kingdom, trusting you to protect us from them." When the king heard his speech, he asked the envoys to return to their land and not interfere with the emigrants. While his followers sought refuge in foreign lands, the prophet continued his preaching against strict opposition. Some mocked him and asked for a sign. Then the prophet would say, "Allah sought has not sent me to work wonders. He has sent me to preach to you." But the priests still did not agree with him. They insisted that unless they saw a sign, they would not believe in his Lord. The disbelievers used to ask, "Why is he not showing miracles like the previous prophets?" "Because miracles had proved inadequate to convince," answered the prophet. "Noah was sent with signs, then what happened? Where was the lost tribe of Thamud? They refused to believe in Prophet Salih unless he showed them a sign. Then the prophet caused the rocks to split and brought forth a living camel. He did what they asked for. Then what happened? In anger, the people cut the camel's feet and again dared the prophet to fulfill his threat of judgment. Eventually, they all lay dead in their beds the next morning. There are around 17 places in the Quran where the prophet is challenged to show a sign, but he gave all of them the same answer. After some time, the priests approached Abu Talib again and asked him to abandon his nephew. But the honorable man declared his intention to protect the prophet against any harm.